Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 471, The Noble Blaze Charizard. Red and Geeta's battle began under the watchful eyes of the entire world. With her power unleashed to the fullest, Geeta's strength was undeniable. Even her choice of leading with Glimmera showed just how seriously she was taking this match. Glimmera's ability, Toxic Debris, made it an ideal lead. Anytime it took physical damage, it would scatter layers of toxic spikes across the field. It was a Pokemon that could control the battlefield even when hurt, and on top of that, Glimmera itself possessed considerable offensive power. But that advantage only mattered against close-range attackers. In reality, Blastoise wasn't exactly limited to physical or special attacks. It was a defensive all-rounder, equally capable on both fronts. And under Red's careful training, this Blastoise's offensive power was nothing short of fierce. Plus, with Rapid Spin in its arsenal, it had no reason to fear Glimmera's Toxic Debris. As the battle raged on under Red's calm commands, Geeta was the first to feel the pressure. She withdrew her heavily damaged Glimmera and sent out Chestnut, hoping to counter Blastoise. But Red didn't hesitate for a moment. He switched to Lapras, whose ice and water-type moves directly threatened Chestnut. After an intense exchange, Lapras managed to take down Chestnut, sustaining only moderate damage in the process. Next, Geeta sent out Iron Treads, a Paradox Pokemon she had once received from Dylan and since raised to full strength. In the clash that followed, both Iron Treads and Lapras fainted simultaneously. Then came Espathra, Geeta's Psychic type, only to face Red's Flutter Mane, which immediately terastallized into a Dragon type, removing its former Fairy weakness. The terastallized Flutter Mane dominated, taking down both Espathra and the returning Glimmera. Geeta's fifth Pokemon was her pseudo-legendary Dragapult, which she Dynamaxed the moment it hit the field. With the overwhelming power of its max moves, Dragapult finally managed to defeat Flutter Mane. Yet before going down, Flutter Mane had landed two devastating Dragon Rushes, even against the Dynamaxed foe. Dragapult's defense wasn't its strong suit, so even doubled HP couldn't save it from the heavy damage those strikes dealt. Red sent Blastoise back out, and with a freezing Ice-type attack, he finished off the wounded Dragapult. Now Geeta had only one Pokemon left. She was cornered. HSS. Seeing this, Wallace couldn't help but gasp. "Red's that strong," he said, wide-eyed. Though Blastoise looked battered and close to fainting, it was still only Red's third Pokemon. With just 3 Pokemon, he had taken down 5 of Geeta's main team and backed her into a desperate situation. That quiet, stoic boy, he really didn't pull any punches. Truly terrifying, even Steven murmured in awe. Geeta's power was nothing to scoff at. Though she had been crushed by Leon and Lance before, dropping her rank to 6th in the world, those two were simply monsters. Losing to them wasn't shameful. It didn't mean Geeta wasn't strong. In fact, she was stronger than Iris, easily a mid to high tier champion by comparison. And yet Red was pushing her back completely. Not an overwhelming stomp, but clear proof of a gap in strength. "It looks like Red's already stronger than Blue," Dylan remarked. From this match alone, it was clear Red's battling had evolved even further, and his team's overall power now exceeded Blue's from a few days ago. Geeta's final Pokemon appeared, Kingambit. Its Supreme Overlord ability boosted its attack for every fainted ally. 5 fainted Pokemon meant a massive 50% boost in power. That was the terrifying potential of Geeta's true ace. Without hesitation, she terastallized Kingambit into a flying type. Even though it only knew one flying type move, Aerial Ace, that was enough, especially combined with the powerful Terra Blast. The terastallized Kingambit swiftly defeated Red's Blastoise. But then Red sent out his own ace. His Charizard. And not just any Charizard, Mega Charizard X.
As the black and blue dragon descended onto the field, gasps and cheers erupted across the arena. Beep, Mega Charizard X, Fire/Dragon type. Flame Pokemon.
Ability, Tough Claws. Signature moves, Flare Blitz, Dragon Rush, Inferno Abyss, Flamethrower, Dragon Claw.
Description: its body radiates an extraordinary power. That power blackens its scales and ignites its fierce blue flames.
Mega Charizard X really is amazing, Dylan nodded approvingly, though he still thought his own shiny Mega Charizard Y was the cooler of the two. Charizard sure is special, Leaf mused, glancing at the battlefield.
It's one of the few Pokemon with two different Mega forms. Not just two. Lily chimed in. Charizard can also Gigantamax. Leaf blinked. Oh right, Leon's ace was a Gigantamax Charizard. Yeah, Charizard really did get all the best treatment. Every form of power-up under the sun. Mega Evolution, Z-Moves, Terastallization, Gigantamax. Charizard had done it all. Dylan chuckled. The noble Blaziuzard is just teasing you all. Blaziuzard?
Leaf and Lily both looked puzzled at the strange nickname, but didn't question it further. On the field, the battle raged fiercely, but the outcome was inevitable. Even with its boosted attack, Kingambit couldn't stand up to Red's Mega Charizard X. Charizard was his true ace, its raw strength even greater than Flutter Mane's, and now, empowered by Mega Evolution and the Tough Claws ability, it was unstoppable. With a final, thunderous Dragon Rush, Mega Charizard X struck down Kingambit. The Terra Glow faded, and Geeta's last Pokemon collapsed. Geeta stared at her fallen Kingambit, momentarily dazed, then smiled faintly and shook her head. She had lost. Kingambit is unable to battle. Mega Charizard X wins. Since Chairwoman Geeta's entire team has been defeated, the defender loses. Challenger Red advances in rank. The referee's voice echoed as the crowd exploded into cheers. Woo! I knew Red would win. Has a Kanto Elite ever lost a challenge? Chairwoman Geeta. Unbelievable. Why are Kanto's Elite Four so strong? Can anyone stop these guys? They're invading every region. It's fine. Paldea still has champions Nimona and Juliana, they'll prove themselves too. The livestream chat erupted in chaos. With Red's victory, 4 Kanto trainers had now entered the Masters League. It was absolutely astonishing. That was an excellent battle, Geeta said sincerely, extending her hand to Red. Your strength is remarkable. Thanks. Red hesitated a moment, but returned the handshake. He had enjoyed this fight. Geeta's strength was genuine, and he could feel her kindness, too. She truly was a senior who took pride in seeing the next generation rise. Fitting for Paldea's chairwoman and top champion. There are only 5 trainers ranked above you now, Geeta said with a soft smile. Do you have any plans for your next challenge? Red tugged down the brim of his cap. Then allow me to give you a little advice, she continued, her tone more serious. You're strong, Red, but I don't recommend challenging the next 2 above you yet. The next 2. Red fell silent. Number 5, Lance. Number 4, Leon. The 2 of them, Geeta said quietly. No disrespect to Steven or Cynthia, but Lance and Leon are even stronger. She spoke from experience, she had felt the crushing weight of their power firsthand. I understand, Red replied simply. Of course he did. His red eyes gleamed. He didn't know Leon well, but Lance? He knew that strength all too well. On Suwafine Island, that proud dragon master had nearly fought the entire Kanto Elite Four and made to a standstill. That battle still burned vividly in Red's memory. Even now, he wasn't sure he could defeat Lance. It wasn't fear, it was awareness. Wait for them to challenge Cynthia and Steven for their positions, Geeta advised. Then you can go after whoever rises to 4th or 5th. That would be wise. Red said nothing, neither agreeing nor denying. The future belongs to you young trainers, Geeta said, smiling again. I'm sure it won't be long before you're ready.
Truly an incredible boy, she thought. After battling him herself, she could tell. Red might even be more frighteningly talented than Nimona or Juliana.
Red stayed silent, his thoughts aligning perfectly with hers.
He would overcome every obstacle until he stood atop the summit, facing that person.
His goal had never been Leon or Lance. Red turned slightly, his sharp gaze finding a familiar figure in the stands.
So that's it, your goal is Dylan, huh? Geeta noticed, her expression softening.
She looked like she wanted to say something.
But in the end, she just smiled and let it go.
Every young man needed a dream.
And this one was a good dream to have. Chapter 472, a new Kanto Elite Four member.
Red's battle with Geeta had ended, and news of his victory over Paldea's top champion spread across the world like wildfire. And with that news came another rising topic, the Kanto Elite Four. Their presence lately had been nothing short of overwhelming. Giovanni, Blue, and Red had each defeated regional champions in succession, ascending to the top tiers with sheer power alone. They had proven to the world what it truly meant to be the strongest Elite Four. From what Dylan had heard, Goodshow could hardly stop grinning these days. He'd even called Red personally to congratulate him. Dylan could practically picture that smug, delighted face. Still, it was understandable. As the Global League chairman, Goodshow had plenty of regional pride, and with his home region of Kanto shining so brilliantly, how could he not be pleased?
Ah!
Gym leader Big Brother.
I knew you'd be here.
Just as Dylan and the others finished dinner and were about to head back to Naranja Academy, planning to leave for Hoenn tomorrow for Leon's upcoming match against Steven, a cheerful voice called out from nearby.
Celine.
Dylan turned, and there she was. The bright-eyed, sun-hatted girl with a pure and radiant smile. Then his mouth twitched slightly. Because opposite her was a short-pants student in a Naranja Academy uniform.
Really now?
She was already champion level, and she was picking fights with school kids at the academy gate? Within moments, Celine's Tinkaton had effortlessly wiped out the boys' team, and the girl came skipping over, face alight with joy.
Hee hee, what luck!
I ran into you right away, gym leader Big Brother.
Lily, Leaf.
It's been forever.
Celine greeted Leaf and Lily with a bright grin.
Weren't you supposed to be training with the old man in Johto?
Dylan asked, puzzled.
Training's important, sure, but rankings are important too. I just finished a match against Elite Four member Rika here in Paldea. Celine said proudly. Her training under Price wasn't finished, but she wasn't about to skip the World Championship matches either. Price hadn't forbidden her from traveling, so here she was, taking on Paldea's Elite Four. I see, Dylan said knowingly.
How did it go? Not hard at all.
Venusaur swept the whole team.
Celine tilted her head innocently. The gap between them and our Kanto Elite Four is huge.
Of course it is, Leaf muttered.
Most regions' Elite Four are just that, Elite Four. Not whatever we are. Have you eaten?
Not yet. I was just about to grab a bite when that random kid challenged me. Her face was clean and bright, her big eyes sparkling like glass. But Dylan knew this girl wasn't as harmless as she looked.
Come on then, we'll take you out.
Yay!
Celine beamed.
They went to a noodle shop nearby. Dylan and the others had already eaten, but Celine happily slurped her noodles like she hadn't eaten in days.
Celine, how strong are you now?
Leaf scrolled through the World Championship rankings and quickly spotted Celine at number 34.
TCH. Leaf clicked her tongue in amazement.
That rank was skyrocketing like a rocket launch. She'd started from 0 and climbed that fast? A pure ranking machine.
Hee hee, I've improved tons. Wanna try me, Leaf?
Celine grinned mischievously.
Pass. I'm just a normal person, thanks.
No fighting you monsters, Leaf refused instantly.
She knew she was strong, probably stronger than Wallace even, but against Celine? Not a chance.
When Celine had last returned to challenge Dylan's gym, Leaf already knew she wouldn't stand a chance.
Now, even less so.
The girl's growth was terrifying, so much so that Leaf honestly believed she might have caught up with Blue and Red already. "Leaf, you're a Kanto Elite 4 member, not a normal person, you know," Celine teased, patting her belly after finishing her noodles.
Ah, that was so good.
Dylan's eye twitched as her shirt lifted slightly, revealing a flash of pale skin. This girl really was careless to a fault.
People are starting to say I'm slacking off, Leaf sighed.
With Giovanni, Blue, and Red all rising rapidly, criticism had begun surfacing online, calling Leaf the weak link of the Kanto Elite Four.
It was inevitable. The internet loved to talk.
Of course, her teammates didn't mind, they knew Leaf's laid-back nature well.
Leaf herself wasn't bothered, though she had to admit it wasn't pleasant to read. "Hey, Celine, why don't you take my spot?" Leaf suddenly said, eyes bright. "I'll step down." "Eh? I can do that?"
Celine blinked in surprise, while Lily looked equally stunned.
"Why not?"
"You're probably stronger than me anyway," Leaf shrugged.
Celine hesitated, face twisting in thought.
Her dream was to be champion, but being part of the Kanto Elite Four was still an amazing opportunity. She could even take part in the year-end Elite Four challenge.
Gym leader big brother, is that allowed?
Technically, not exactly, Dylan said with a shrug.
But if both of you agree, it's fine.
He wasn't surprised by Leaf's offer, she'd said from the start she wasn't in this for the long haul. He felt the same way, actually. When Lacey matured enough, he planned to step aside too. Let Red and the others fight for the Kanto Championship themselves.
"I want to be an Elite Four member."
Celine slammed her hands on the table, eyes blazing. The world's strongest Elite Four, Kanto's Elite Four, what could be better?
"Do you have to shout?" Dylan gave her an exasperated look.
Hee, I got excited," Celine laughed awkwardly. "And I've told you, stop referring to yourself as the boss."
"You're a girl, Celine. How old are you again?" MHM, yes, she nodded obediently, pretending to repent.
She knew from experience, when gym leader Big Brother started lecturing, you just nodded and agreed until it was over. After a while, Dylan sighed at the sight of the now silent hat girl. "Good show speaking," came a cheerful voice from the holoscreen.
"Chairman, it's Dylan."
"Oh. What's up?" "About Leaf, she's decided to retire."
"What?" Gucho's smile vanished. "Why all of a sudden? Is it because of the online comments?"
"Don't worry, I'll make an announcement to defend her." Leaf was actually touched. The chairman really did care about her.
"That's not it," Dylan explained. "Leaf's stepping down, and Celine will take her place." "What do you think?" "Celine's grown a lot lately."
"Her strength already surpasses Leaf's, and she's much more competitive."
Good show went quiet for a moment. "Well, I suppose that's fine."
He stroked his chin thoughtfully. Leaf rolled her eyes.
"Then we'll handle the paperwork. I'll send you Celine's official portrait for the announcement." "Excellent." Good show grinned again. Losing Leaf was unfortunate, but gaining someone as powerful as Celine? More than acceptable. He also knew Leaf's heart wasn't in the position anyway. No point forcing it. Everyone was happy with the change, and that was what mattered. Soon after, Dylan brought Celine to a studio for her official photo. Her chosen partner was Incineroar, its claws raised in a fierce pose beside the smiling, flower-hatted girl, who held out a pokeball confidently toward the camera. It was a bold, fiery image, though her bravado lasted only a moment. "Nice. I look both pretty and cool," Celine beamed, delighted with the result. "Your announcement should be out tomorrow," Dylan said, resting a hand on her shoulder. "But as a Kanto Elite Four member, the pressure's going to be heavy. Especially since the other three are all on fire right now." "Humph, I don't care. I'll fight anyone who stands in my way." Celine lifted her chin proudly, her sweet voice carrying unexpected intensity. I'll beat them all, every last one of them. Dylan sighed. Let's hope you can back that up. Of course I will. Even that guy Dylan.
I'll crush him under my feet and drag him home to be my STA.
The confident girl froze mid-sentence as Dylan's eyebrow twitched. What did you just say?
He smiled dangerously and pinched her cheek.
It was just a joke.
Celine whimpered pitifully.
Celine, Dylan said flatly, looks like I've been too soft on you. We're doing some extra training tonight. Ow 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 no. I'll break.
As her cries for mercy filled the air, Dylan could only rub his temples.
What on earth had this girl been learning while away? Chapter 473, Leon vs. Steven.
The Kanto Elite Four had changed. By the next day, 2 official announcements from the Kanto League spread rapidly across the world.
We regret to inform everyone that Leaf will be retiring today.
We are deeply grateful for her dedication and love for the Kanto League during her time of service. Though her departure is unfortunate, the League respects her choice.
Everyone should follow their dreams. We eagerly look forward to Leaf's bright future. Kanto League.
Official notice: trainer Celine has successfully passed the Elite Four evaluation. Beginning today, Celine will officially serve as a member of the Kanto Elite Four, protecting the Kanto region.
Kanto League.
These 2 statements instantly shocked nearly everyone following Kanto's recent surge in attention. After all, Giovanni, Red, and Blue had brought the Kanto Elite Four's popularity to unprecedented heights.
Their presence was overwhelming.
And now, the 4th seat had suddenly changed hands.
Naturally, this was huge news. Most importantly, Celine? Many had never even heard of her.
With the Kanto Elite Four's level of power already beyond doubt, the idea of an unfamiliar trainer joining their ranks left many wondering if she could handle the pressure.
Not gonna lie, judging from the official photo, she looks so young. Are they sure she's ready? Celine, wasn't she Dylan's former apprentice? That troublemaker from Rhoda Street? Just check the World Championship rankings, Great Ball Tier, number 34. Not that high. Seriously? Even if Leaf wasn't exactly the most motivated Elite Four member, isn't pulling in someone outside the top 30 a bit low for Kanto's standards? Wait, this Celine only started her journey at the end of last year? And she's already on the Great Ball board? Countless discussions flooded the networks. Some skeptical, some supportive, some neutral, and plenty just venting.
Meanwhile, the person at the center of it all was lounging in a hotel room, casually scrolling through the comments with amusement.
Doesn't this bother you at all? Seeing people bad-mouthing you?
Leaf asked curiously, watching as Celine kicked her bare, pale feet lazily in the air.
It's pretty funny, Celine said with a mischievous smile. To the harsh words in doubt online, she felt no irritation. If anything, it was kind of entertaining. Funny? Leaf blinked in surprise. Well, my ranking isn't that high yet.
It's normal, Celine replied casually. She didn't care what strangers thought and certainly didn't lose sleep over it.
That's the right attitude, Dylan said, walking over approvingly. Ignore the noise. Just let your strength do the talking.
In the end, the battlefield was the only place that truly mattered.
Exactly. My rank's going to shoot up in no time. Celine grinned confidently. Let's go. Steven and the others are waiting outside. When they reached the gates of Naranja Academy, Steven's group was indeed there. So this is the new Kanto Elite Four member, Celine? It was Wallace who noticed her first, the sweet, flower-hatted girl trailing obediently beside Dylan.
Her bright eyes and delicate frame certainly stood out.
Hello, seniors. I'm Celine.
Before Dylan could introduce her, she gave a polite bow, smiling warmly.
Her well-mannered demeanor and gentle tone immediately won over Leon and the others. What a lovely junior. I heard you used to be Dylan's apprentice, then you must be quite talented, Gita said curiously. She'd actually heard about Celine yesterday. After all, Celine's most recent battle had been against Rika. And according to Rika, that sweet-looking girl had utterly demolished her. With just a Venusaur. No setup, no gimmicks, just pure domination. Even hours after the match, Rika was still in disbelief. Well, that's to be expected.
She's an Elite Four now, Leon laughed heartily, folding his arms. Leaf's retirement had been a surprise, sure, but it was clear why. They'd found someone better. Which meant this cheerful, innocent-looking girl standing before them was stronger than Leaf. After all, Dylan wasn't the type to train anyone ordinary. Not really, I'd never actually battled Leaf before, Celine said shyly, cheeks slightly pink. Dylan's eyebrow twitched, and even Lily and Leaf looked a bit awkward. That innocent act of hers was extremely unconvincing. Please don't. I'd rather not get wrecked for no reason, Leaf said quickly.
She wasn't some battle junkie, why fight someone she knew she couldn't beat? Celine's super strong.
You guys better be careful, Lily added in her sweet, ringing voice.
Oh?
Then I'll be waiting for your challenge, Wallace smiled with interest.
Sure.
Once I'm allowed to challenge you, I'll definitely take you on, Wallace-senpai, Celine said with a sugary grin.
A former regional champion was definitely a tempting target. At that, Dylan gave Wallace a knowing look. Yep, same old Wallace. The group chatted happily, and Leon and the others quickly took a liking to their polite, cheerful junior.
Then Dylan summoned Hoopa Confined, who opened a shimmering golden ring and sent Celine through to Alola.
She's not coming with us to Hoenn? Steven asked, puzzled.
He had assumed Celine would tag along to watch the upcoming battle between him and Leon.
Her training isn't finished yet, Dylan explained. What a hard-working girl, Wallace said admiringly.
She's got a bright future ahead.
Celine's indeed diligent, Dylan agreed. But... He paused for a beat. Wallace, you might have some trouble soon. Huh? Wallace blinked.
Celine's very strong, Dylan emphasized.
I figured as much. It's fine, Wallace said lightly. I'm used to geniuses. Not like this one, Dylan replied. Her talent's among the best I've ever seen, and she's clever, too. Her battling style is tactical, not just brute force.
She learned a lot of unconventional strategies from me last year, he added vaguely.
Wallace looked confused. What do you mean? Never mind. She probably won't even need them.
After all, Celine had studied all sorts of underhanded techniques from him, but at her current level, she likely wouldn't even need to use them to defeat Wallace. Hoopa Confined opened another golden ring, and Dylan's group stepped through, arriving in Mauville City, Hoenn.
At Steven and Wallace's invitation, they spent 2 days sightseeing before the main event at Mauville Arena.
As the announcer declared the start of the match, Leon and Steven strode out onto the stage to thunderous applause. Most of it was, of course, for Steven.
In Hoenn, his popularity was immense.
Rich, handsome, brilliant, and kind, the perfect gentleman champion.
Who wouldn't love him?
Once the referee explained the rules, the battle began.
Steven. I've been waiting for this.
Leon whipped his cape behind him, his fierce eyes locked on his opponent. For someone as battle-hungry as Leon, facing Steven was a dream come true.
Ah, me too, Steven replied with a calm smile. Dylan's spoken highly of you. Oh? Leon's interest piqued.
Dylan had known Steven and the others long before meeting him, so it wasn't too surprising, but still, he was curious.
What exactly had Dylan said?
He said your strength was exceptional, that even compared to Champion Lance, you're about even.
Haha, Dylan gives me too much credit, Leon said, laughing heartily.
But despite his modest words, he was clearly pleased. After all, praise from Dylan was no small thing.
A powerful rival is a rare treasure. Let's see your true strength today, Leon. I'll give it everything I've got, Steven. The two champions' eyes blazed with mutual respect and determination.
For trainers like them, worthy opponents were few and far between. The referee signaled the start, and Steven led with his signature Skarmory, while Leon opened with Aegis Lash. I wonder if Steven can actually win, Wallace murmured from the stands, concern clear in his voice.
Leon had already proven his strength, defeating both Iris and Gita without breaking a sweat.
Even Dylan himself had acknowledged Leon's power.
Probably not, Gita said quietly. As long as their raw strength isn't too far apart, the outcome depends on who performs better in the moment, Cynthia observed calmly. Tactics and command matter just as much as power.
True, Gita agreed, but then fell silent. On the field, Skarmory had just set up Stealth Rock only to be blasted midair by Aegislash's Shadow Ball, nearly crashing to the ground. Even without a type advantage, Skarmory's low special defense and Aegislash's immense special attack made the hit devastating.
Dylan, how many of Steven's Pokémon do you think Leon will take down?
Leaf asked quietly. The implication was clear, she didn't think Steven would win.
Dylan didn't answer immediately.
He simply fell into thought.
Chapter 474, Where is the brave soul who'll charge at Dylan? How many of Leon's main Pokémon could Steven actually take down? Dylan honestly couldn't say.
After all, this was the first time Steven and Leon had ever battled. Even in the Masters 8 tournament, Leon had never been placed in the same bracket as Steven or Cynthia. But it didn't matter much, the result would soon speak for itself.
Leon's Aegislash was incredibly powerful, that much was undeniable.
Despite the Stealth Rock now spread across the field, Steven's Skarmory was nearly knocked out of the sky by a single Shadow Ball. The overwhelming force of the attack left Steven no choice but to recall Skarmory and send out his second Pokémon, Claydol. Aegislash had the type advantage against Claydol, but the reverse was also true, Claydol's ground-type attacks could hit hard. The two clashed fiercely, but the outcome wasn't surprising, Claydol went down to Aegislash. Next, Steven sent out his Iron Treads, the Paradox Pokémon he'd received from Dylan himself. Iron Treads fought well, but Aegislash's aerial advantage made things difficult. Despite Steven's efforts, his Iron Treads ultimately fell to Aegislash's Sacred Sword. Aegislash's dominance was terrifying. Yeah. Keep talking, all of you who said Leon was overrated. This is the unbeatable champion of Galar, Leon. Didn't I say it before? Even Dylan's champion team wiped everyone out effortlessly. And you still dared to mock Leon. The battle's not even over yet, and the Galar fans are already popping champagne? Ha! Keep coping. I'll eat my shirt if Steven wins this one. The online chat exploded with excitement.
Especially among Galar fans and trainers.
Back when Leon had been effortlessly swept by Dylan, Galar had suffered endless ridicule, even earning the title of the weakest region. Leon's later performances had repaired that reputation somewhat, but this battle had completely flipped public opinion.
Unbelievable. Wallace was stunned. He hadn't expected Leon to be this strong.
Just one Aegislash, and already 3 of Steven's Pokémon were gone, 1 forced to switch, 2 completely defeated.
And this was Steven they were talking about.
Aegislash is that kind of Pokémon, Cynthia said, brow furrowing slightly. But Leon's control of it is masterful. Everyone knew Leon was strong, even Dylan himself had acknowledged that much.
But how strong? Now, they had proof.
Even Steven, ranked number 3 in the Masters, was being completely overwhelmed. Steven has to turn this around soon, or he'll just fall further behind, Gita murmured.
Steven clearly understood that too. His 4th Pokémon Metagross hit the field and immediately terastallized.
After a fierce exchange, he finally took down the unstoppable Aegislash.
Leon's 2nd Pokémon was then revealed, Cinderace, Galar's Fire-type starter.
Leon was known for his wide range of types, and famously, 4 of his core Pokémon were all starters, Cinderace, Rillaboom, Inteleon, and of course, his ace, Charizard.
And those starters were no pushovers, each one had champion-level strength. Leon didn't hold back.
Facing Steven's terastallized Metagross, he Gigantamaxed his Cinderace. The massive Cinderace stood proudly, arms crossed, with long, drooping ears and a blazing fireball beneath its feet. In this world, unlike the games, even a Gigantamax Pokémon could choose whether to use standard Max moves or their exclusive G-Max moves.
Naturally, Leon went for G-Max Fireball.
Steven immediately recalled Metagross and sent out his 5th Pokémon, Agron. Rock resisted fire, though steel was weak to it, so Agron wasn't entirely doomed.
Dodging a G-Max move was nearly impossible anyway. Steven didn't even try. He ordered Agron to strike back with Stone Edge.
Under the burning sunlight brought on by G-Max Fireball's effect, fire-type moves became even stronger.
Leon followed up with Max Knuckle, a fighting-type move super effective against Agron's quadruple weakness. Steven wisely used Protect, blocking most of the damage. Even so, the sheer force of Max Knuckle broke through, dealing massive harm. Another Max Knuckle followed. Agron, battered and desperate, launched a final Stone Edge head-on. It wasn't enough.
Agron fell, and though Gigantamax ended, Cinderace was badly hurt too. Stone Edge had done serious damage, even against its double HP.
Steven brought back Metagross. After a grueling clash, both Pokémon went down together. Steven now had only 2 Pokémon left. Leon's third Pokémon, Inteleon, made quick work of Skarmory.
Then Steven's ace, his shiny Metagross, entered the field and Mega Evolved.
A heated showdown with Inteleon followed.
"Leon's still so gentle," Dylan said with a light chuckle.
He could tell Leon was holding back. He didn't need to send Inteleon against Steven's Mega Metagross, he could have gone straight to Charizard and had an ace versus ace finale. But Inteleon, though strong, couldn't quite match Mega Metagross. It fell, leaving Leon's ace.
Charizard, to finish the fight.
Leon Mega evolved it into Mega Charizard X.
The two titans clashed in a fiery, close-range slugfest that lit up the stadium.
"This is insane," Wallace muttered, eyes wide. That Charizard X was ridiculous, how could it possibly go toe-to-toe with Mega Metagross? It was even slightly winning. Wallace couldn't fathom how Leon had trained it to this level.
"Is Charizard really that strong?" he asked incredulously. "Well, of course," Dylan replied matter-of-factly.
Wallace blinked.
"My brother's fire-type ace is also a Charizard," Lily chimed in sweetly.
"Even NTI and Moltres couldn't beat his Charizard. Why?"
"Yeah, my Charizard's no weaker than Leon's or Red's," Dylan added modestly.
Sure, stay humble," Wallace sighed. Cynthia and Geeta exchanged amused glances. Typical Dylan, his team-building skills were beyond reproach. "Amazing," Wallace muttered. "So we've got Red's Charizard, Leon's Charizard, Dylan's Charizard, anyone else?" "Lance has one too," Dylan replied cheerfully.
"He's even thinking about giving his Mega slot to Charizard instead of Gyarados."
After all, Charizard X was a dragon type.
For a dragon master like Lance, it was only natural.
And, according to intel from Agent Erica, Lance still hadn't given up on finding a Megastone for Dragonite.
She'd only mentioned it because she was annoyed Lance kept inviting her for training sessions under his champion title. Erica was pretty sure he was just using that as an excuse to spar with her. "You guys are unbelievable," Wallace sighed.
The match on the field ended soon after Leon's Charizard X defeated Steven's Mega Metagross in an explosive finish. Dylan wasn't surprised by the outcome, though the Hoenn crowd was heartbroken. Leon's victory meant Steven's ranking would drop again. Down to number 4, right above Johto's champion, Lance. And considering Lance's reputation as the invincible Dragon Master, who knew when he'd decide to overtake Steven next? But that was a problem for another day. On the battlefield. "You're amazing." "I admit defeat," Steven said with a warm smile, offering Leon his hand. He'd fought his hardest, but Leon was just on another level. "Ha ha. You're strong too, Steven." "That was an awesome battle," Leon laughed heartily.
He'd enjoyed it, but something still felt missing.
"Cynthia probably isn't your match either," Steven said as they walked toward the tunnel. "Are you planning to challenge Dylan again?" "Haven't decided yet," Leon admitted, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Truth be told, the thought of rematching Dylan made his blood boil with anticipation. Of course, that was assuming Dylan didn't use his overpowered legendary Pokémon.
"Last time he told me, if we ever battle again, he won't use any of his Dragon-type legendaries," Leon said quietly.
"That sounds great," Steven said, blinking. "Yeah, but," Leon grimaced.
It's not like his strength depends on his dragons. He's got Yveltal, Groudon, stuff like that. The memory made Leon shiver slightly. It wasn't that he feared losing, he just didn't want to be obliterated again. Dylan had a habit of letting his Pokémon stretch their legs, as he called it.
So if Leon challenged him now?
He'd probably get flattened by Yveltal and Primal Groudon before he even got started.
Steven stayed silent for a moment.
If only someone else would go fight Dylan first, Leon said wistfully. Let him get it out of his system, then I can challenge him properly.
Looking for a volunteer, huh?
Steven gave him a dry look. Don't even glance at me, I already fought his Golden Legends.
I know, but what about Wallace? Leon suggested. Even if Wallace lost his mind, he still wouldn't battle Dylan in private, Steven said, rubbing his forehead. Then what about Iris?
She's supposed to be really courageous.
Iris is already traumatized by you guys, Steven interrupted.
She came to Wallace last month just to rebuild her confidence.
Leon chuckled awkwardly.
Well, whoever it is, it'd be nice if someone challenged Dylan again, he said.
At least then we'd get to see those legendary Pokémon in action.
He paused, then added quickly, from the sidelines, of course.
Chapter 475, Dylan, do you like Lily?
Leon's battle with Steven had come to an end, and once again, Leon had proven to the world why he was once called the unbeatable champion.
Now, discussions were exploding online. Besides the rule-breaking Dylan, who else could possibly defeat Leon? After all, Cynthia had battled Steven once before.
Though she had technically won, the two were evenly matched in strength.
There was no way Cynthia could stop Leon's rise. I think only Champion Lance could possibly do it. No way.
I still believe in our boss Giovanni rules.
Champion Lance doesn't seem too interested in rankings lately. Rumor says he's been training every day.
Yeah, the guy's obsessed.
I even heard he's been overworking his subordinates.
I disagree. Erica, personally guarantee my teacher could definitely beat Leon.
There you go again. Then call your teacher out and let's see.
The internet was in chaos.
Meanwhile, Dylan and his group had returned to Rota City.
Because of the ongoing World Championship, the number of challengers to the Rota Gym had dropped drastically this year.
Compared to the global tournament, regional leagues just didn't draw the same excitement anymore. Not just Kanto, every region was feeling it.
A week passed quietly. With no major matches worth watching, Dylan accompanied Lily on a trip back to the Alola region.
Days spent sunbathing and feeling the sea breeze on Ether Paradise were pure bliss.
When it came to natural beauty, Alola might not be perfect, but for sun and shorelines, no other place could compare.
After all, the region was literally 4 massive islands surrounded by paradise. This afternoon, Dylan lay back on a beach chair wearing sunglasses, gently stroking a softly snoring Clefairy beside him, utterly relaxed.
In front of him, Lily, Leaf, and Eileen were laughing in their swimsuits, splashing around with Diancie, Eevee, and the others.
Thirsty? President Luzaman, aren't you supposed to be busy? Dylan chuckled as Luzaman approached, handing him a chilled coconut drink.
Not too bad lately, she said, reclining on the chair next to his.
The Alola League's running smoothly now. Though, there's still one problem.
Her tone grew wistful. Alola had stabilized under her leadership, with Professor Kukui and the island kahuna's full support.
What was Alola missing now?
Not infrastructure, not management, just power.
Kirin will keep growing, Dylan replied, already guessing her concern. At present, Kirin was Alola's top champion-level trainer.
Strong, yes, but in the grand scheme of things, only moderately so. This world was overflowing with monsters and prodigies.
Kirin was ranked somewhere in the top 20 of the Ultra Ball tier, but not higher. I've accepted it, Luzaman sighed with a wry smile. If Alola's the weakest, then so be it. Power was something even she couldn't control. With only Professor Kukui and Kirin holding champion tier strength, Alola really couldn't compare to the other regions yet. Although Hala's grandson, Hao, had great potential, he was still growing.
Just focus on developing Alola, Dylan said lightly. It's still new, no need to rush.
Indeed, the Alola League had only recently been founded. Not many people paid it serious attention yet. Top-tier champions are hard to come by, Dylan mused. But I could recommend 2 trainers for you.
He hesitated a moment, then decided to lend Alola a hand. After all, it was his parents' retirement home, and Luzaman technically owed him.
Really? Luzaman's eyes lit up. A trainer recommended by Dylan was guaranteed to be extraordinary.
Of course. I'll contact them, just make sure to receive them properly. The 2 Dylan referred to were Zinnia and Colress. Zinnia, at the moment, was lost in purpose. After single-handedly destroying Johto's corrupt Pokemon Association, sending Hibiscus and the rest to prison, and bankrupting the Violet Corporation, she'd completed her revenge. With Steven's help, she'd hunted down every person involved in the Rayquaza capture project. Even the masterminds in Sinnoh's Stone family had been brought to justice thanks to Dylan and Cynthia's intervention. And now that her vengeance was over, Zinnia was left directionless. Since she no longer carried her people's legacy nor her hatred, Dylan figured it was time she found a new goal, like helping Alola. As for Colress, Dylan had kept him under his wing for a long time. The man's scientific genius was undeniable, having created many valuable inventions. But locking him in a lab forever couldn't be healthy. A bit of fieldwork might do him good and inspire new ideas. Deal. Luzaman agreed without hesitation. She didn't expect Alola to reach the top of the world, but at least not to stay at the bottom. That's good enough for me. By the way, Dylan. Dylan lifted his sunglasses lazily, sipping his drink. What do you think of Lily? He froze for a second, then glanced at Luzaman, instantly understanding what she was getting at. Lily? She's an incredibly sweet and gentle girl. I think so too, Luzaman said softly. I've failed her in so many ways. She turned to Dylan, voice lowering. If possible, I'd like to entrust Lily to you. Lily's already like a little sister to me. But you're not her blood brother, Dylan, Luzaman said firmly. You know what I mean. I can see how much she depends on you. I don't know exactly how she feels, but as her mother, I can't ignore it. President Luzaman, even if you say that, Dylan rubbed his face helplessly, pulling his sunglasses off. It's because of those 2 girls, isn't it? She had noticed Dylan didn't dislike Lily. He was just conflicted. Her eyes flicked toward the beach, where Leaf and Eileen were laughing with Lily. You could say that, Dylan admitted. He wasn't blind when it came to emotions, he could tell both Leaf and Eileen truly liked him. As for Lily, she probably couldn't even tell whether what she felt for Dylan was love or admiration. Before, Dylan hadn't bothered thinking about romance. He had always believed Pokemon mattered more than relationships. But now, things were complicated. Eileen was his childhood friend. Lily was his adorable, thoughtful little sister. Leaf was a close companion who understood him perfectly. Luzaman frowned slightly. Yes, this was a headache. Dylan, she said after some hesitation. He looked at her, wondering what she was about to suggest. The Pokemon League doesn't technically forbid a man from taking more than one wife. Dylan blinked. Then he suddenly remembered an old letter from his father, joking about finding his mother a sister wife. Back then, Dylan had assumed his dad was just teasing behind his mom's back. But apparently, this world really did allow that? He hadn't known. Still, maybe that meant he didn't have to overthink it anymore. Galar Region, Winden Stadium. The massive arena was packed to the brim. This one's gonna be fun, Wallace said with a smirk, resting his chin on his hand. Celine vs. Master Mustard, definitely worth watching. Celine was one of Dylan's former students and now one of Kanto's Elite Four, highly popular and rapidly rising. Yeah. Mustard's no pushover either, Dylan nodded. Ranked 15th in the Ultra Ball tier, just beat Raihan last month. The old man's still kicking, Blue commented, glancing at the data on his phone. Well, he is the legendary Kung Fu master, Giovanni added with a faint smile. Even if he's past his prime, he's still sharp. After all, Mustard was no young man anymore. Age would inevitably dull anyone's power, but a tiger past his prime was still a tiger. As one of Gaylor's undefeated former champions, Mustard's strength remained formidable. His recent victory against Raihan proved that much. And as one of the few trainers known to command a legendary Pokemon Urshifu, his prowess was beyond question.
Red stayed silent. Doesn't matter, Celine's gonna win, Blue said confidently.
He had full faith in her abilities.
Just last year, she'd helped them gang up on Lance during the Suwafan Island incident. Indeed, Giovanni agreed with a proud nod. Celine's talent is truly exceptional.
No wonder Dylan had chosen her as his pupil, she was a prodigy in every sense. Just days after breaking into the Ultra Ball Top 20, she was already challenging Mustard.
The crowd roared as the announcer's voice echoed through the stadium.
From the opposite tunnels, two figures emerged. One was a kindly old man in a green jacket, slightly hunched but smiling warmly, Mustard himself. The other, energetic and radiant, was Celine, wearing a tropical tank top, white shorts, and a flowered sun hat.
I finally made it into the top 20. Celine grinned brightly. Next stop, Master's Tier. Her ultimate goal?
To one day challenge her mentor, the gym leader himself.
And if she won, well, that'd be something, wouldn't it? So you're Dylan's little student, Mustard chuckled, his eyes gleaming with amusement. Let's see how much of your teacher's skill you've inherited, shall we? Chapter 476, I'm a true disciple of Dylan's. Hey Master Mustard, please go easy on me today, okay?
The sweet and lively girl smiled with bright eyes, her tone crisp and teasing. I've always respected strong veterans like you. Old man like me doesn't deserve that kind of praise, you know.
Mustard waved a hand modestly, chuckling good-naturedly.
But your ranking isn't exactly low, Master Mustard.
You've still got quite the fight in you.
Celine tilted her head skeptically.
She didn't believe that for a second. He might look old and gentle, but rankings didn't lie.
This wasn't the early days of the World Championships anymore. The weak were quickly eliminated, and only the strong stayed near the top. Take Alder, for example, he'd originally been in the top 15, but now he'd fallen out of the top 20 altogether. Meanwhile, Mustard was still sitting at number 15.
That said everything. I hope you'll show me what the once strongest champion of Gaylor can really do. Before challenging Mustard, Celine had thoroughly researched his background. Once hailed as the greatest champion in history, Mustard had reigned undefeated for 18 years straight, a record that still hadn't been broken. A living legend who had once dominated the entire Gaylor region.
Those are old stories now, no need to bring them up, Mustard replied casually, smiling with humility.
But you, since you're Dylan's student, how about letting this old man see just how strong his disciple has become? Dylan? Celine blinked. Dylan? Did he mean her gym leader mentor? Pfft, she almost couldn't stop herself from laughing. Of course, Master Mustard. I'm Dylan's true disciple, after all.
Holding back her giggles, she confidently thumped her chest, her bright eyes brimming with pride.
The battle will now begin. The challenger, Celine from the Kanto region. The defender, Mustard from Gaylor. The battle format is 6 versus 6. Both sides may use two forms of enhancement. The match ends when one side's 6 Pokemon are all unable to battle. Begin.
The referee bowed politely to both trainers before stepping aside. On the massive screen, the portraits of Celine and Mustard appeared on opposite sides. The pointer spun rapidly, then landed on Celine's side.
Oh, looks like I go first. Smiling brightly, Celine slipped on a pair of silk gloves and flexed her fingers. Well then, Master Mustard, ready yourself. I'm coming at you.
Her gaze sharpened, the air around her shifting as she tossed a pokeball into the air.
Gone was the soft, cute demeanor, replaced by the aura of a determined fighter. Oh, not bad at all. Mustard's eyes gleamed. Yes, that's the spirit I wanted to see. And it's only going to get better. No matter who stands in my way, I'm going to become champion.
Celine spun and threw her first pokeball.
No matter who it is.
Anyone blocking my path to the top, I'll take them down.
My first partner, it's you. Incineroar.
A ferocious roar shook the arena as the towering, muscular tiger landed, spreading its arms with a menacing glare toward Mustard.
Incineroar, huh? What power?
Mustard's brow twitched slightly.
That Incineroar was no ordinary one, its aura alone was intimidating.
But then a grin spread across his face. His fighting spirit was fully ignited.
Ha ha ha.
That's exactly why I joined this world championship in the first place. He unzipped his green jacket, folded it neatly, and set it aside. Underneath, he wore a yellow vest bearing the same sword and shield emblem as Leon's outfit, paired with loose gray pants.
With an opponent like this, even an old man like me can't help but get fired up. Well then, it's my turn.
Mustard spread his legs into a fighting stance, one arm pointed forward, the other cocked back, a signature pose that radiated confidence.
Ninsheo.
A flash of white light, his Ninsheo appeared, graceful yet fierce, settling into a combat stance and glaring at Incineroar.
Incineroar. Celine gave a sharp command. Incineroar bellowed at Ninsheo, unleashing its intimidate. But Ninsheo stood utterly unfazed, eyes unwavering. TCH inner focus, huh? That's annoying. Celine clicked her tongue. Of course, it was the inner focus ability.
A Pokemon with that trait never flinched or wavered in spirit, immune to Intimidate's effects.
Which meant Incineroar's fake-out tactic wouldn't work either. In the stands.
Master Mustard seems quite fired up.
It's been a while since I've seen that expression on him, Leon said with a nostalgic smile. Not surprising, Dylan replied calmly. Mustard's strong, but after retiring to the Isle of Armor, he probably hasn't had many even matches. Mustard had always been a warrior at heart.
But ever since stepping down, he'd rarely battled seriously again. Even Leon, though stronger now, was too busy, and too directionally challenged, to make the trip for a proper duel.
True, Leon nodded.
This World Championship's a great chance for him. Though I'm not sure Celine can handle him, Wallace said, stroking his chin before glancing toward Dylan. They didn't know Celine's true power, but Dylan certainly did.
We'll see soon enough, Dylan said with a faint smile. On the field. Incineroar, parting shot. Celine didn't waste time trading blows.
Incineroar hurled a mocking roar at Ninsheo before vanishing into light, returning to its ball and leaving Ninsheo's stats lowered.
Debuffing, huh? Mustard chuckled. Classic Incineroar strategy. Figures. He'd expected as much the moment he saw it. Gengar.
Celine swiftly sent out her ace. The grinning ghost appeared, then Celine raised her hand. The keystone on her glove gleamed brilliantly.
Mega Evolution.
As the light faded, Mega Gengar hovered in the air, exuding eerie menace.
Going Mega right off the bat? Wallace blinked. That's rare.
Most trainers save it as a trump card. Celine doesn't fight the usual way, Lily said softly, smiling faintly. Opening with her ace, then switching and Mega Evolving, that was pure chaos.
But Lily wasn't surprised. Celine had used the same unorthodox approach when challenging the Rota Gym. Besides, an early Mega Gengar made sense, its Shadow Tag could easily trap opponents. This might be tricky. Mustard frowned slightly.
He knew exactly what that ability meant.
Still, his Ninsheo knew U-turn. If it could land a hit, it could escape. But it wasn't that simple. U-turn only worked if it connected. If Mega Gengar dodged, Ninsheo would be stuck.
Mustard ordered Ninsheo to dig underground with Dig to both evade and counterattack.
But Celine had no intention of attacking head-on.
Mega Gengar floated upward, a ghostly nail materializing before it, shrouded in dark mist.
A ghost-type move, Curse. Mustard's eyes widened. Wait, she's using Curse right after Mega Evolving? Who on earth had taught her to fight like that?
Mincheo, stop it, he barked.
Too late.
The cursed nail plunged into Jengar's body, and a sinister energy shot into Mincheo.
The curse took hold instantly.
Mincheo froze mid-motion, its expression twisting in pain as it crashed to the ground, overwhelmed by the dark energy.
Jaya ha ha ha.
Mega Jengar cackled gleefully, showing no sign of pain despite its self-inflicted wound. It loved cursing others. Celine's once innocent face mirrored that same devilish grin.
Mincheo, you turn now. Mustard barked the command.
If it was cursed, it had to retreat quickly or it'd be finished.
Encore. Celine's smile widened.
As Mincheo tried to leap up, Mega Jengar shot forward like a phantom, clapping mockingly with a distorted giggle. A strange wave pulsed from its hands. Mincheo froze again.
It couldn't use U-turn anymore. Mustard's eyes bulged. No way.
Encore had locked Mincheo into its last move, dig. But digging was useless against a floating Mega Jengar, meaning Mincheo was doomed to take curse damage until it fainted.
This is a death trap. There was nothing he could do, his Mincheo would be cursed to oblivion.
The match had barely begun, and Mustard was already sweating bullets.
In the stands. That's just evil. Is she even human?
Poor Master Mustard, Dylan said, shaking his head in mock sympathy. Wallace and the others all turned toward him with odd, conflicted looks.
What? Why are you all staring at me like that? Dylan's eyelid twitched. Chapter 477, Can Have Another Cub. Celine's tactics, Cynthia trailed off, unsure what to say.
It's got that familiar feel, all right. No wonder they say she's truly inherited it, Wallace said bluntly. Leon shot a worried glance toward Mustard.
Master.
What a shame, such a cute girl, and she's already been corrupted, Kukui sighed.
Hey, you guys are being a bit harsh here, Dylan said awkwardly.
I swear, I never taught Celine any of that.
She figured it out herself. He felt completely wronged.
Sure, he liked using creative strategies in battles, but he'd never taught Celine anything this underhanded. If anything, he'd always told her that true strength came from honorable power, and that cheap tricks were just shortcuts.
Ah yes, of course, Wallace replied with an exaggerated nod. Dylan rolled his eyes. Believe me or don't, whatever. On the field.
Mincheo could no longer continue.
Trapped by Encore and cursed, it stood no chance.
Even though Mustard hadn't given up, it didn't matter, his impatience only got it hit by hypnosis, and then Dream Eater finished it off before he could react.
Mustard looked like he was about to burst. Not only was Dream Eater powerful, but it also restored Jengar's health, essentially undoing the self-damage from curse.
Celine took the first round. But Mustard, ever the season champion, quickly regained his composure and sent out his second Pokemon, Luxray. The lion-like electric type landed with a commanding presence.
Beep, Luxray, electric type, the Gleam Ice Pokemon. Ability, Intimidate. Moves, Wild Charge, Swagger, Crunch, Volt Switch, Roar.
Description: its piercing eyes can see through anything, allowing it to spot prey hiding in the dark. A very strong Luxray indeed. Under Intimidate, Mega Jengar's attack dropped, but Celine didn't seem to care.
Mustard ordered Luxray to dash in with quick attack, hoping to close the distance before Jengar could react. Celine countered with Taunt. The moment Luxray got close, it fell right into it, forced to use only attacking moves. Mustard's expression tightened.
His plan had been to use Swagger to confuse Jengar or Roar to force it out.
Now both options were gone.
Luxray lunged with Wild Charge, but Jengar cackled and floated up effortlessly, evading the hit before scattering toxic spikes across the field.
Mustard's eyes widened. No you don't.
Wild Charge again. Luxray hit its mark this time, but the spikes were already laid. When it landed, it stepped right into them, wincing in pain.
And then came the Blue Flame's Will-O-Wisp. Burned. Another one down, Leon muttered, rubbing his temples. A burn was devastating for a physical attacker like Luxray.
And the poison hazard on the ground only made things worse.
Luxray tried to use Volt Switch to escape, but Jengar was too fast, the attack missed completely. The moment taunt ended, Mustard tried to have Luxray roar, but Celine's timing was perfect. Taunt again. Another mocking glare from Jengar shut down Mustard's plans all over again. Luxray, KO.
Mustard hesitated, then threw out his third Pokeball, Corviknight. As soon as it appeared, Corviknight used Defog, clearing the poison spikes from the field. Even though Corviknight wasn't affected by them, it was better to play it safe for his next Pokemon. Mustard immediately went for Taunt, he'd learned his lesson. But as Corviknight cried out, Jengar's eyes glowed red, Hypnosis. Thud. Corviknight dropped from the air, fast asleep. Mustard froze, fists clenching. Across from him, Celine's sweet smile only deepened. 2 Dream Eaters later, Corviknight fainted. While Mega Jengar was back to full health, practically glowing with satisfaction. On the big screen, Corviknight's icon dimmed and the crowd erupted. What is with this girl's battle style? Bullying an old man like this, does she have no shame? She's won 3 rounds without even brawling properly, and her Jengar's still at full health? No wonder they say she came out of that sinister ghost gym. She's mastered the art of torment. Insane. No wonder she's Kanto's new Elite Four member, I respect it. The arena went wild, and the live chat exploded even more. Whatever the method, the fact was clear, Mustard had already lost 3 of his main Pokemon. And Celine's Mega Jengar hadn't even broken a sweat. Even watching the process, her performance was flawless, just unconventional. As for Mustard, he was anything but amused. Phew. He exhaled deeply. Years of discipline and inner peace nearly shattered. Good thing he still kept fit, or this match might have actually given him a heart attack. Master Mustard, are you all right? Celine asked with sincere concern. She'd met plenty of trainers who'd had mental breakdowns mid-battle, some even resorting to shouting at her in frustration. But she'd learned long ago, watching Dylan's gym matches, that those were just the tantrums of losers. All you had to do was smile and say, hee hee. Of course, a few had even tried to challenge her to a real-life fight afterwards, but honestly, that just made her laugh. You couldn't even beat me in a Pokemon battle, and you think you can take on my Incineroar? Still, in front of an audience, she decided to be polite. No problem, this old man's spirit is strong as ever. Mustard waved reassuringly, though he really wanted to ask where the heck this girl learned to battle like that. But that could wait until later. Seems normal tactics won't beat your Jengar. In that case. Mustard's eyes hardened as he threw his 4th Pokeball. Urshifu. A muscular, fierce Urshifu landed before him, its white headband fluttering. It was the single strike style. Whoa, so that's Urshifu? It's so cool. Celine's eyes sparkled. Ha ha ha, good taste. Urshifu is the definition of cool. Suddenly, Mustard found the girl much more likable again. Shame, though. I've already entrusted both my students to others. Otherwise, I'd give you one, little miss. Her battle style might be questionable, but her strength was undeniable. Maybe if she had her own Urshifu, it could steer her toward a more honorable path. Now then, let's get serious. Mustard recalled Urshifu, lifting his wrist as the red energy of his Dynamax band surged into the Pokeball. With a mighty throw, Gigantamax single-strike Urshifu emerged, roaring skyward. Roar! The ground trembled beneath its feet, divine fury blazing in its eyes. The crowd went wild. A Mega Evolution versus a Gigantamax form, what a rare sight. And not just any Gigantamax, this was Urshifu, a legendary warrior Pokemon. That's so awesome. Its power, its form, it was perfect. Celine's eyes shone. The Gigantamax Urshifu was exactly her type. Such a pity Mustard said he didn't have any more of them. Master Mustard? He glanced at her curiously. Why don't you let your Urshifu try really hard and have another cub? Mustard. Gigantamax Urshifu, This girl's thought process was something else entirely.
Mustard couldn't help looking back at his Urshifu. Sure, he had two of them, but they weren't exactly young anymore. Could they even still have cubs? Chapter 478. How could there be such an adorable Pokemon in this world?
Mustard was seriously considering whether his Urshifu could still reproduce, but quickly realized he'd been completely led off track by that girl.
No. Focus. This is still a battle.
Gigantamax Urshifu, that's going to be tricky, Celine murmured, narrowing her eyes at the towering, godlike figure of the single-strike Urshifu, radiating sheer power.
Come back, Gengar. Without hesitation, she recalled her Mega Gengar. Withdrawing, huh?
A wise move, Mustard said approvingly.
Mega Evolution was strong, sure, but sending a Mega Gengar head-on against a Gigantamax single-strike Urshifu would have been reckless.
After all, Urshifu had a type advantage, and with the massive range of its G-Max moves, even Gengar's speed wouldn't help much. Switching Pokemon to stall out Gigantamax's duration, that was the smartest play.
So, what are you going to send out to face my Urshifu?
Mustard's grin froze halfway through his sentence.
Because he saw it.
A sleek, steel warrior stood there, twin pink blades gleaming under the lights, staring up coldly at the giant Urshifu.
It was the future Paradox Pokemon Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant.
Celine raised her Pokeball, recalling it only to channel the Dynamax energy from her band.
Dynamax.
The massive ball opened, and Iron Valiant knelt briefly, blades crossed, before its body expanded, glowing with a crimson aura. The sky swirled with dark red energy. Once, twice, 3 times, its body swelled larger with each pulse until the Dynamaxed Iron Valiant rose to its full height, blade slicing the air as it glared directly at the Gigantamax Urshifu.
Mustard froze.
His memories snapped back to that day, the same Iron Valiant, the same Dynamax transformation. And it wasn't just him. Urshifu too clenched its fists, its snarl twisting into something almost feral. It remembered that thing. Mustard fell silent. Celine really doesn't leave her opponents any breathing room, huh? From the stands, Blue couldn't help but laugh. The single-strike Urshifu was strong, no one doubted that, and its Gigantamax form was awe-inspiring. But single-strike Urshifu was quadruple weak to Fairy. Sending it to face a Dynamaxed Iron Valiant head-on? That was basically asking for it to faint. Yet if he switched out Urshifu now, it would waste his whole Gigantamax turn. And if he did recall it, what Pokemon could safely take a Dynamax Fairy-type move? A no-win situation. Mustard's mind was torn, but Celine's wasn't. Without a moment's hesitation, she had Iron Valiant charge forward. G-Max Guard. Mustard gritted his teeth. Fine, he'd just have to weather the storm. Urshifu shielded itself, blocking the first Max Starfall. But when the second came, using G-Max Guard again was risky. The success rate dropped sharply. Mustard ordered a counter instead, Max Airstream. The second Max Starfall hit cleanly, making Urshifu roar in pain, but Max Airstream struck back hard, slamming into Iron Valiant. The flying-type move granted Urshifu a speed boost, while the fairy move turned the field into misty terrain. For the third Starfall, Mustard went defensive again, another G-Max Guard. And with that, he'd finally stalled out Iron Valiant's Dynamax time. Still, it was exhausting. This wasn't what he'd imagined Gigantamax Urshifu doing. This time, Mustard made a different choice, Lily said softly, giggling behind her hand. Yeah. I'd bet the last battle with Dylan left quite the impression, Leon said with a wry smile. He'd seen the footage too. Mustard's Urshifu had gone head-to-head with Iron Valiant back then. And immediately got put to sleep peacefully. So this time, Mustard chose to play it safe. But taking a full Max Starfall like that did heavy damage, Steven analyzed. Now that Gigantamax is over, Urshifu's in a natural disadvantage. I think he'll switch. At least Misty Terrain didn't boost Fairy-type moves. And Mustard wasn't foolish enough to keep a single-strike Urshifu against a Fairy-type opponent. Sure enough, as soon as Gigantamax ended, he recalled Urshifu.
Celine also smiled sweetly and recalled her Iron Valiant, sending out her Mega Jengar again. The moment he saw that familiar grin, Mustard's head throbbed. Urshifu. Clenching his teeth, he threw his fifth Pokeball. A flash of light and another Urshifu landed before him, this time with its headband like fur drooping rather than standing tall. It was the Rapid Strike style. Unlike its fierce counterpart, this Urshifu moved with fluid grace, calm, measured, like a stream rather than a storm. Deep Urshifu, Rapid Strike style, fighting/water type, the Wushu Pokemon. Ability: Unseen Fist. Moves: Surging Strikes, Aqua Jet, Focus Punch, Dynamic Punch, Bulk Up. Description: its creed is to win through persistence. It attacks its foes again and again, flowing like water. This Urshifu was every bit as powerful as the last. Not as fierce as the first one, Celine said thoughtfully, tilting her head. I like the boldness of the single strike form better. Don't underestimate this one, little miss, Mustard chuckled. Rapid Strike is just as strong. Then let me see for myself. Celine's Mega Jengar cackled, its eyes glinting with eerie light. A shadow beneath Urshifu turned gray, it was trapped. Shadow Tag. Urshifu couldn't escape. Mustard terastallized his Urshifu into water type. Go! Aqua Jet. Urshifu surged forward in a blur of water. Sure, fighting types were at a disadvantage against ghosts, but terastallized into water, Urshifu could rely on its powerful water moves. Celine, unsurprised, had Jengar float higher and use Curse. Dark nails appeared, piercing through Jengar's form. Aqua Jet hit, slamming Jengar hard. Surging Strikes. Mustard roared. Curse wouldn't stop him, he'd just finished this before it took effect. Water spiraled around Urshifu's fists as it punched again and again. The first strike landed, Jengar screeched, completing its curse as gray mist seeped into Urshifu's body. The pain hit immediately, making Urshifu grunt and tremble. But it forced through the agony, landing a second strike that sent Jengar flying. Celine watched calmly as Jengar staggered, clearly weakened from its own curse recoil and the water attacks. Strong hit, she admitted, eyeing her panting Jengar. Celine's repeating her old habits again, Leaf murmured in the stands, frowning slightly. If she just had Jengar fight head-on, it's not like it couldn't win. She remembered Dylan had told Celine this during her Rota Gym challenge. Mega Jengar could fight directly with amazing power. She's doing it on purpose, Dylan said quietly, smiling faintly as he watched Celine's bright, playful grin. Celine wasn't someone who ignored good advice. She was a genius, she knew Jengar could have fought normally. She was just giving Mustard a dignified finish. On the field, Rapid Strike Urshifu pressed the assault with Aqua Jet, closing the gap again, its surging strikes hit cleanly. But then a wave of gray spirit energy surged from the fallen Jengar and poured into Urshifu's body. The ghost moved Destiny Bond. Mustard had just relaxed when his jaw dropped. Destiny Bond? He clenched his fists. From start to finish, this Jengar was pure nightmare fuel. And now, even in defeat, it dragged his Urshifu down with it. Deep breaths. Stay calm. As expected of you, Master Mustard. My Jengar's not easy to deal with, Celine said brightly, recalling it with a carefree smile as she adjusted her flowered sun hat. So now, please, test this one's strength. She threw another Pokeball. This is a little cutie I really adore. The ball opened, and a cheerful, smiling Pokemon floated before her. Whimsicott? Mustard recognized it instantly. He didn't travel far from the Isle of Armor often, mostly just for official matches in Wyndon, but he kept up with the online scene. If he remembered right, this bright, sunny little creature had quite the reputation. Well, a divisive one. How could there be such an adorable Pokemon as Whimsicott in the world? How could there be such a disgusting Pokemon as Whimsicott in the world? Those were the two sides of public opinion. Chapter 479, she's definitely Dylan's personal disciple. Yup, that's my Whimsicott. Isn't it adorable? Celine beamed brightly, she really adored her Pokemon,
to an almost ridiculous degree. Back when she'd watched Dylan battle challengers, she'd already started imagining what her own dream team would look like one day.
And just like Jengar, Whimsicott was love at first sight. She'd even traveled all the way to Unova just to find and catch this perfect, playful fluffball. "It is cute, that's for sure," Mustard admitted, nodding thoughtfully, but his mind was already racing, trying to figure out what to send out against it. Whimsicott was a grass and fairy-type Pokemon, and fairy-types were, honestly, a real pain for him. His single-strike Urshifu was quadruple weak to fairy, and his other ace, Kamao, had the same weakness. So Kamao was completely out of the question. Go! Lycanroc! Decision made, Mustard tossed his sixth Pokeball. A flash of light revealed a lean, tan-furred wolf crouched low to the ground, day form Lycanroc. Beep Lycanroc, midday form, rock-type, wolf Pokemon. Ability, Keen Eye. Moves: Stone Edge, Stealth Rock, Crunch, Sucker Punch, Accelerock. Description: the rocks in its mane are as sharp as blades. It relentlessly pursues its prey, striking only when it's sure of victory. Celine tilted her head slightly as she looked at the Lycanroc, her smile still sunny. Choosing a type disadvantage, huh? Guess his luck ran out this round. Lycanroc was weak to grass, but Mustard had little choice. The alternatives were even worse. The battle began. Mustard took the initiative. Lycanroc was built for fast, aggressive strikes. But something felt off almost immediately. Lycanroc lunged forward with Accelerock, but Celine didn't tell Whimsicott to dodge. Instead, the fluffy Pokemon stayed perfectly still and used Cotton Guard, its body puffing up as its defense skyrocketed. Lycanroc's attack hit, but barely scratched it. That speed, Mustard realized it had to be Prankster. Close as they were, he ordered a follow-up, use Iron Head. But Whimsicott moved first again, retreating with a giggle as purple dust fluttered toward Lycanroc. Poison Powder. Before its Iron Head could connect, Lycanroc was already poisoned. A deep violet glow spread across its body as it stumbled, toxins taking hold. Still, Lycanroc was tough, Mustard had trained it well. It could take a few poison ticks, no problem. Then, out of nowhere, Leech Seed. Green seeds embedded into Lycanroc's fur, sprouting vines that coiled tight around it. Ra-ag! Lycanroc roared, thrashing. But glowing motes of energy were already being drained away, flowing into Whimsicott, who looked as cheerful as ever. Mustard's face darkened. When Lycanroc finally tore the vines off and charged again, the poison pulsed through its veins. Still, it pushed forward, determined to crush that smug little fluffball. Whimsicott clapped its tiny hands together, eyes sparkling. Encore! A mysterious energy wrapped around Lycanroc, locking it into Iron Head. It couldn't use anything else. Mustard's jaw twitched. Fine. If Iron Head was all it had, then it would just keep swinging. Lycanroc roared again, sprinting forward only for Whimsicott to suddenly pout, letting out an adorable whimper. Fake tears. Lycanroc hesitated, the attack faltered for a split second. Its special defense plummeted. Then the poison struck again, harder this time. Lycanroc grit its teeth, it wasn't going down without taking that cotton ball with it. It lunged one last time, Iron Head ready. But a green energy wall shimmered up in front of Whimsicott. Protect! Lycanroc's Iron Head slammed harmlessly against it. The poison flared again and again. Its breathing grew shallow. Then Whimsicott released a cloud of soft white fluff, cotton spore. Lycanroc's movement slowed to a crawl. Followed by tailwind, the breeze picked up, swirling around Whimsicott, lifting it effortlessly as it giggled and danced out of reach. Mustard's face was twitching. And then the entire arena watched in stunned silence as Lycanroc chased helplessly after the laughing Whimsicott until the toxins finally overwhelmed it, and the proud wolf collapsed mid-run. From start to finish, apart from that first Accelerock, it never landed another hit. Lycanroc is unable to battle. Whimsicott wins. The referee's voice trembled slightly, his eyes darting warily toward the sweetly smiling girl on the opposite side. For 2 full seconds, the stadium was silent. Then. What? What the heck was that? Did that even count as a battle? Wait, isn't Celine Dylan's student? What kind of fighting style is that? She's totally his personal disciple, no doubt about it. Anyone who's seen Dylan's old battles knows exactly where she learned that. Black-hearted cotton. If you cut her open, her soul would be pure evil. That poor Lycanroc. It was toyed with. She didn't even let it fight back. It's somehow worse than her Jengar. The crowd erupted, and the livestream chat was completely melting down. Whimsicott's innocent grin and sunny energy only made it worse. Dylan, Wallace said softly, pressing his lips together. Would you mind having a word with your student? Dylan blinked. I don't think I'm qualified to face her anymore. Wallace glanced toward Mustard, whose expression was somewhere between shock and spiritual exhaustion. Not even when his Urshifu had been cursed half to death by Jengar had he looked this shaken. Please, tell her not to challenge me. Have her go for Diantha instead, Wallace said solemnly. He wasn't joking. After seeing this match, he'd sooner retire than battle Celine. Dylan just stared at him. Lily, Leaf. That's a bit dramatic, Dylan finally said, half smiling. It's not dramatic enough. Wallace insisted. The rest of the match was almost mercifully quick. Mustard's final Pokemon Single Strike Urshifu was shredded by Whimsicott's Fairy-type attacks. After being paralyzed by Stun Spore and played with for a while, a single Moonblast finished it off. The former Galar champion Mustard had fallen. Well done, sweetie. Celine crouched down, patting the proud Whimsicott as it floated around her happily. It beamed even brighter, circling her like a glowing dandelion seed in the wind. Meanwhile, Mustard silently recalled his fallen Urshifu. He still couldn't quite process it. How did he even lose like that? He'd expected Celine to be strong. After all, she was Dylan's student, and one of Kanto's new Elite Four. He'd even prepared himself for a crushing defeat. But this? This was on a whole other level of humiliation. He'd been toyed with by a girl who looked like she should be handing out flowers, not battlefield trauma. Tonight, he knew, he was going to dream of her Jengar and Whimsicott's smiling faces. Mr. Mustard, are you okay? The cheerful voice snapped him out of his daze. He turned to see the bright-eyed, white-skinned girl in the flowered sun hat standing before him, hands clasped behind her back. Ah ha ha! Congratulations, Celine. You completely outclassed me, Mustard said at last, exhaling deeply and dusting off his coat. As a senior, he had to keep his composure, at least on the outside. I'm really happy with how I did today. Celine giggled shyly, tilting her head as her big eyes turned to happy crescents. But Mustard wasn't fooled anymore. That pure, sunny smile masked something far, far darker. I think you've got real potential to make it to the Masters tournament, kid. Keep it up, Mustard said warmly. I will. I'm going to keep getting stronger until I can challenge my mentor. Dylan, huh? Not a bad goal. So who's your next target? Mustard asked casually. I promised Mr. Wallace I'd battle him next, she said, tapping her chin. Oh? The former Hoenn champion? Excellent choice. I'll be watching that one in person. Really? Yay! I'll win for sure. I'm sure you will. Bring that same confidence and those same tactics. I'm very excited to see it, Mustard said, smiling slyly. Wait, don't you usually never leave the Isle of Armor? She asked curiously. From now on, I'm not missing a single one of your battles. Mustard gave her a big thumbs up, grinning from ear to ear. After such an unforgettable battle, he had to see the expressions of her future opponents in person. Chapter 480, Giovanni's Ambition. That was a beautiful match. Excellent work, Celine. After the battle, Dylan smiled approvingly as Celine returned to the locker room.
He had to admit, her performance against Mustard had been utterly dominant. She'd won using only 4 Pokemon, and her Incineroar had barely even broken a sweat.
Dylan was more than satisfied. Hee, of course. I'm going all the way to Master's rank.
Celine tilted her chin up proudly, hands on her hips and a wide grin on her face.
I'm the best. JPG. Bunk. Ow, that hurt.
Celine clutched her forehead, tears in her eyes as she looked pitifully up at her mentor.
Say that again, you're a girl, stop calling yourself the boss. It sounds awful, Dylan scolded, rolling his eyes. And don't get cocky. You're only ranked 15th right now. Celine nodded rapidly, like a pecking pidgey. Anyway, who's next on your list? Dylan asked with a sigh.
This girl just never changed.
Definitely Mr. Wallace.
I've been wanting to battle him for ages, she said without hesitation. Wallace wasn't just a former champion, he was also the world's top coordinator. Celine didn't care much about contests, but battling someone that stylish sounded fun.
Wallace doesn't seem too eager to battle you. Eh? That's impossible. He told me I could challenge him anytime. Celine blinked, baffled. How could any senior turn down the challenge of such a cute, hard-working junior? Wallace had to be looking forward to it, right? After seeing your match with Mustard?
He'd have to be crazy to still want to fight you, Dylan said, laughing. Wallace had learned his lesson the hard way. His poor Milotic still hadn't emotionally recovered from that friendly spar last year.
What? I didn't do anything wrong today.
Celine pouted, tilting her head in confusion.
She really didn't see the issue. Wasn't that how Pokemon battles were supposed to go?
She'd even been merciful, she'd let Mustard take down her Mega Gengar at the end. Otherwise, he'd have been swept clean.
Don't give me that look.
If you must challenge Wallace, fine, but try to make the match enjoyable for him, Dylan said dryly.
In other words, please don't psychologically destroy the man. He got it, Master. I'll be gentle. Celine stuck out her tongue playfully and saluted. Dylan nodded, somewhat reassured.
That very night, Celine wasted no time.
She immediately filed for her next ranking challenge against rank 12, Wallace.
The sheer pace of her climb was terrifying. She was either battling or preparing to battle every waking moment. 3 days later, in Lily Cove City's Grand Arena, the match took place as scheduled. Celine stayed true to her word. This time, she used no tricky nightmare tactics. She opened with her Mega Gengar. But instead of the usual sadistic control play, it turned into a pure damage-dealing machine. Wallace's Pelipper barely managed to set up the rain before a single thunder from Mega Gengar fried it on the spot.
His Mega Gyarados? 2 thunders and a Thunderbolt gone. His shiny Greninja?
Thunderbolt followed by Thunder gone.
His Swampert?
A 4 times weak energy ball sent it straight to heaven.
No traps. No stalling. Just obliteration. Wallace's elegant smile twitched as his team fell one by one.
Good heavens, the girl's on fire today, Mustard laughed from the stands, having brought his family to watch. The sheer cleanliness of the battle was shocking, so clean that people almost couldn't believe this was the same cheerful girl who'd toyed with him earlier that week. It was like watching an entirely different person.
Amazing.
That's the true power of her Mega Gengar, Mustard murmured, eyes narrowing as the grinning ghost dominated the field. She's incredible, said his wife, Mila, resting her chin in her hand.
Indeed. Stronger than Leon ever was at her age, Mustard admitted seriously.
Then, after a pause, he added with a smirk, in every way. Her tactics, instincts, and Pokemon strength, flawless.
And though her previous curse style had been downright cruel, Mustard couldn't deny it worked extremely well.
He'd learned that firsthand. She might just be the one who challenges Dylan, he mused.
Wait, you think she can beat Leon? Mila blinked in surprise.
To most people, Leon was the obvious number 2, if anyone would reach the finals, it'd be him.
Mustard chuckled.
You have no idea how scary this new generation is, dear.
Leon's strong, sure, but he's not untouchable.
Even Gloria might be able to beat him by year's end.
He thought back to his other student, the one who'd taken a kung-fu from his dojo. Her talent had been jaw-dropping, but now? Celine was no less terrifying. Perhaps even more so. Truly, this era was overflowing with monsters. Neela nodded.
I suppose that's true, though I'd love to see Gloria and Celine battle one day. Oh, it'll happen, Mustard said confidently.
It has to happen.
He could already picture it, Kanto's prodigy versus Gaylor's prodigy.
Whose monster would stand taller?
Celine's battle with Wallace was, of course, one-sided.
Her Mega Jengar's special attack was monstrous, leaving no room for suspense. By the 5th round, Jengar and Milotic took each other down.
And Wallace's final Pokémon, his Delmise, was swiftly defeated by Celine's Iron Valiant.
Wallace, KO'd. The crowd erupted. Celine had crushed the former champion using only 2 Pokémon.
Sure, most of Wallace's team happened to be weak to electric and grass, but dominance was dominance. The result silenced any doubters about her status as Kanto's newest Elite Four member. Some even argued she deserved a higher seat. Celine basked in the cheers with a bright smile, while Wallace, ever the gentleman, calmly returned his Delmise. Another crushing loss, but this time, he didn't mind. He'd already achieved enlightenment. If you can't win, just vibe. At least she hadn't tortured him psychologically, he could live with that. Besides, she was Dylan's student. Losing to her was basically expected.
Well done.
That girl really is something, Blue said from the viewing box, resting his chin on his hand. He took great pride in his Elite Four, and seeing Celine, his youngest member, shine like this filled him with satisfaction.
Looks like you've got a tiger on your tail, Blue.
Better guard that seat of yours, Giovanni chuckled lowly, his sharp eyes glinting as he watched Celine.
What a terrifying kid.
He knew her, of course, she'd passed through Viridian Gym at the very start of her journey last year. Even then, Giovanni had been impressed by her natural talent.
But now? In just half a year, she'd grown to this level?
At this rate, she'd be a serious threat by year's end.
Ha! Don't be ridiculous, old man. Blue scoffed. I'm the one who's gonna surpass both you and Red.
He smirked confidently.
Other than Dylan, there's no one I'll ever lose to.
Red shot him a wordless glance.
We'll see, Giovanni said, amused.
Blue was prideful, sure, but that pride was part of his charm.
And truthfully, Giovanni respected his strength.
Red might have the greater raw potential, but Blue's drive and willpower made him no less extraordinary. Still, with Red, Blue, and now Celine, his entire Elite Four lineup were absolute monsters.
Giovanni rubbed his temples.
His position as Kanto champion was looking more and more precarious. But then he smirked.
Well, that just made things interesting.
I'll have to get stronger myself, he murmured. If I don't, by year's end I'll really be in trouble. He'd promised Silver that once Dylan retired, he'd take the champion's throne, and he meant it. He couldn't let his son down. And once he did claim that title, his prestige would surpass even Lance's in Johto. But to make that ambition a reality, he needed more power.
Mega Kangaskhan was strong, yes, but not enough.
He should have accepted those offers back then.
Darkrai, Moltres, any of them could have made the difference.
He frowned thoughtfully. Then, remembering something Dylan had mentioned earlier, Giovanni turned his gaze toward a group across the hall, Alder, N, and the Unova delegation. After a moment of contemplation, he stood up and walked toward them.
Champion Giovanni? Alder greeted, raising a brow. Mr. Alder, Champion Iris, everyone, good evening. Giovanni smiled politely. Iris' smile twitched nervously as old memories resurfaced. Giovanni's smile tended to bring those out. Can we help you with something, Champion?
Alder asked curiously.
Yes, Giovanni said smoothly. I'd like to ask Mr. N about something.
N blinked in surprise, but nodded kindly.
Of course. If it's something I can help with, I'll do my best. He didn't recognize Giovanni as the former head of Team Rocket. He'd long since chosen to forget that part of Unova's past. I won't waste words, then, Giovanni said. I understand you're the hero of the ideal dragon, correct? N tilted his head slightly. You mean Zekrom? Yes, that's true. Then you must know quite a lot about Unova's legendary Pokémon.
That depends on what you're asking, N said warily.
Giovanni's smile deepened. Suppose I wanted to find a certain Pokémon. N froze. Find one? Giovanni nodded slowly, eyes glinting with ambition.
That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.